Hi YouTube, it's Terry Talks. Today is December 31st, 2022. It is New Year's Eve. It is about 11:08. I just wanted to make a quick video before I go stuff my face with bad food. Just wanted to talk a little bit about mental health and self-care and how important it is. For the last couple of years, self-care has been like the buzzword. Self-care, take care of yourself. And when you break it down, it can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Take a day where you don't take phone calls. Use your days off. Go get a massage. Go get a pedicure. All those things are self-care. Unplug from the world. Unplug from the internet if you need to. It means a lot of things. But I basically think the ultimate meaning to self-care I look at it as like mental health. If you don't unplug, if you're constantly on 10, you're going to burn out. You are going to burn out if you are constantly not taking care of your physical body, as far as like, taking it easy. Don't stress it over this. Don't take other people's problems as your own, if you don't have to. And it's tied, I think, also at the same time to your mental health. Mental health is so important. As I've gotten older, I have understood how important mental health is. How past traumas, healing, just processing pain, processing events in your life that have been so just traumatic. There's people who've gone through terrible, terrible things in life. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, abandonment issues. It can go from A to Z. And what you can handle as a person, someone else may not be as strong to do that. You miss a couple of car payments, and if you've been in the struggle life before, you're like, oh well, I'll catch up when taxes coming. But somebody else, they miss one car payment. It's the end of the world. So just processing things. Sometimes you don't process things till years later. I'll give you an example using myself. I had a house, I had bought a house in 2005. And when I bought the house, it was a bad idea. I think it was sort of like predatory lending. I think I was making like maybe $16 an hour. I don't know. Something like that. I was approved for like $140,000. What else? Oh, and I had what is that called? Not the floating interest rate. It's a term that they use. I'll find out what it is. But my interest rate did not stay the same. It was not locked in. It moved with the market. Plus, I had a second mortgage. I didn't realize I had they didn't call it a second mortgage. They called it something else. And please forgive me for not knowing the name of what it was. But I didn't realize that I was there at the closing. And wait a minute. I've got 2 banks that I've got to make payments to. But I'm at the closing, so I don't say nothing. I don't know what I was thinking. I told you in my last video, like, financial stuff and understanding and planning. sometimes went over my head. So and then I didn't have anybody who was in my life to really help me to understand these things. I was like the first person in my family to buy a house. So nobody could really give any advice. So I was kind of on my own there. I had been recently divorced, and I was buying a house by myself. So anyway, ended up buying a house in 2005. Basically being house poor. Fast forward to 2010, they filed for foreclosure. I'm in foreclosure because I was part of a payment, like a payment plan thing with the mortgage company, waiting to see. Now this is in the early days before Obama had put out all the help for like homeowners who were taken advantage of or, had bad loans. And so I was paying this money. They said, we'll pay this amount. So months later, after I'm paying this like modified amount, I found out I wasn't approved for, the plan. And so they're like, okay, all the money that you didn't pay those months, you have to pay now. So of course that wasn't happening. So what ended up happening, in foreclosure, I ended up getting foreclosed on. And at the time, I'm pregnant with my third child. This is 2011. We're scrambling to look for somewhere to live. I'm unemployed. I'm receiving unemployment. My husband wasn't working either. So we're looking to like, where can we find somewhere to live? So it was stressful. Plus being pregnant, losing my house, having a baby. Okay. It was a bad situation, but I didn't really like process it. So fast forward about, let's say 2014, all of a sudden it just hit me. I know this sounds crazy, or it might have been earlier than that, but a couple years later, I was like, I really got foreclosed on. I really lost my first house. This really happened to me. And I'm telling you, 2 years later, I'm thinking about this like, wait a minute. And it made me sad. It did. It made me sad. I hadn't processed it. That's what I mean. Like trauma in the moment, you don't, it's a bad situation, but you don't realize how bad your mind has not really probably had time to catch up to how you're feeling. And that bothered me. And I was wondering, why am I thinking about this 2-3 years later? But I hadn't processed it. I hadn't, I hadn't grieved it, if that's a proper word to say. So things like that, things in our childhood, just like, and when we see people, like I use this example, when you see people on the street talking to themselves, living a certain way, just out there, you don't know what those people went through. You don't. Some of those people may have been through extreme childhood trauma, persons or people taking advantage of them in that way. Somebody could have lost a child. I mean, who wouldn't be walking around talking to themselves if you lost a child? Think about how much you love your kids and think about losing one of them. And then you'd be out there talking to yourself too. So I always like these people who we see out there are human. And I always like to see people in their humanity. Now, there are some people who just have, who've been dealing with mental health issues all their life, like schizophrenia, bipolar. Those are those things. But there are people who have been driven to that point because of mental health issues, not being able to process it, not being able to just whatever it is. I mean, none of us are. What's that saying they used to say? We're one paycheck away from being homeless. And it may not be one, it may be three. But you never know what somebody's what they're going through to have them know where they are. We know people who have just made bad choices and bad decisions. That's one thing. But people who have just lost their mind. And we know how it's been to be alone with your thoughts. That's a scary place sometimes. To be in your head is a scary place. It is. And you can have people around you who would have no idea that you're going through things. Like you hear these stories about, like just recently, DJ Twitch from the Ellen Show took his own life. That girl, the one who was a beauty queen, who was a correspondent for Extra, who was a lawyer, I believe, who was I want to say she was a track star. She jumped off a building because she was depressed. But everybody around her said you would have no idea. So you do not know what is going on in people's head. People smile and show you different ways, but you don't know. I don't know how we could, that girl I referenced, her mother said that her and her daughter had talked, before, and she was aware of it, but just mental illness is real. It's like your brain feels like it's independent of you with some of the things. And I can speak from an OCD standpoint as being someone who suffers from that. The thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, you're like, where did that come from? And then you begin to what they call ruminate about it and try to reason it out. They call OCD the what if, all these scenarios. Can you imagine all these scenarios? If I could probably fill a 2-hour video of all the what ifs, all the things that's come to my mind over the years, to be in that place, and other people in the other places, in the depressed place, in a anxious place. So mental health is just as important as physical health. You have to take care of both. You have to take care of your physical health and your mental health. There's always stigma around mental health. Oh, they're crazy. Oh, that's so-and-so. They be over there talking to themselves. Oh, that's so-and-so. It's always been a stigma. So everybody's out there putting on this brave face to pretend like especially police officers. What was it? In Chicago, just the past year or two, I believe there's been like 8 or 9 cops that's taken their lives. I mean, there is this persona that what is a police officer and a cop, that these are superhuman people, that they don't feel, and they can take that kind of trauma and that kind of stress. But they're human. These are some of the people who took their own lives were older veterans who had been out of the force. Some were young people. But can you imagine the things they see on a day-to-day basis? Mental health is real, it's serious. It should not be something for people to be made ashamed of. I mean, You know how you can go to work and say, "Oh, sis, I got cramps today," or they talking about they got I gotta have a gallbladder surgery, or I gotta have a hysterectomy. Nobody think nothing about when somebody say that. But it's such a stigma to mental health that you can't say, "Oh, I'm just feeling so anxious today. I'm feeling so depressed. I'm feeling so depressed. Oh gosh, I'm feeling these thoughts in my head." Everybody automatically will be like, thoughts in their head. What? They're going to shoot up the place. It goes from like one extreme to the other. You telling the person, "Oh man, my mind is just, man." You can't say that because of how mental health is viewed. I think we're coming past that. We're getting over that a little bit, I think. But I think there still is a stigma. When you hear somebody say, even when you hear about, like, say, a biography of an actor or a singer, they had this, they had bipolar, they was this, they was that. You still kind of like, ooh. But all of us got something, or deal with something, I should say. Not everybody has mental illness, but everybody's dealt with something and been in a dark place. So, yeah, that is one of the things I want to focus on in the new year is self-care. We don't get a lot of time to even breathe by ourselves. When the kids go to school is the only time that we have to do anything. I love my children. I do. But I so wish we could also go on a vacation, go on a couples weekend, take a long drive, be together and just have a dinner, go to a movie, So some of those things I think are taxing on your mental health. But yeah, only by the grace of God. Only by the grace of God, me and my husband are a team, and only people who kind of been on this journey with you could understand and relate. But yeah, just a few thoughts with the new year coming in. Just want to say Happy New Year. Hopefully good things in 2023. And good night, and I will see you next year. Bye.